get ready with me while I tell you something very scary I went through. Correction, that I went through. Okay, so this story took place in 2016. My parents, they clean offices, and me and my brother, we used to go help them at the time. So it's basically like they go at night when nobody's in the buildings to clean the offices. So I don't want to say exactly where this was, but this building was pretty big. It was a 2-story building, and we would usually separate. So it would be my mom and dad, and then me and my brother. So there was this one specific time where there were some construction workers, and they had to go at night too, so nobody's at the building. So me and my brother, we were in an office, and sometimes the bucket where we throw the trash in gets really full. So I would tell my brother, can you go throw the trash, so I could start taking more trash out because it didn't fit anymore. So I noticed my brother was taking a little longer than he should have, and I was like, okay, let me just leave. So I was like, oh, let me just leave. I'm already done with this office, so let me see where he's at. So this is where it gets really freaking creepy. By the time I get to the hallway, my mom and dad and my brother are there, and my brother is telling them that he ran into a construction worker. My brother starts telling my dad how the construction worker stopped him and asked him if he's ever heard noises in the building or if he's ever seen anything. My brother then tells him, yeah, we do hear things sometimes, but we just like ignore it, or we just don't pay much attention to it. Although there were times we did hear things and we got scared. Well, the construction worker starts telling my brother that they're not coming at night anymore. They're getting their stuff and leaving because they saw a little boy. So they saw a little boy dressed in hospital clothes, like a hospital gown, running through the hallway, and a doctor or nurse type looking chasing after them. Yeah, and mind you, this building is not a hospital, not a clinic. It is a call center. So it was a call center upstairs, and downstairs it was a DR Horton. The DR Horton office was where the construction workers were in. So my dad starts saying like there's no way, they just made that up. Start saying they're just trying to scare you, like blah blah blah. So we just like go about the date. We didn't really think much of it. It did scare us, but we were like, what the fuck. So fast forward a couple months later, so we're back in the building, and my dad comes up to us and he looks freaking scared, and we're like, what happened? And he said that he saw so my dad starts telling us that he was in the hallway and that he saw a doctor pushing a patient on like a hospital bed, and they were exiting the building, and that my dad yelled, hey, and that they turned and looked at him directly. The patient looked directly into my dad, and my dad was like looking at him, and that quickly they exited the building. And my dad said he ran out of the building, and when he went out there was nothing, like no cars. It was empty. It's just our car there in the building parking lot. So after that, we decided that we did not want to separate, and my dad was like, F that, we're not separating. We literally saw what the construction workers said that they saw, except it wasn't a kid, it was like an older guy. So well, shortly after that happened, we didn't work there long after that, but now, so a couple months from today, we went to go visit that building, but it's completely abandoned. Like, it's just, there's nothing in it. So I'm just like, what? But yeah, let me know if you guys believe in ghosts. This is by far one of my most scariest stories I've ever heard. This takes place in San Antonio, Texas, specifically the south side of San Antonio. In the late 1930s, there was a school bus driving down Adams Road. It abruptly stopped on some train tracks. The school bus driver tried to calm down all the kids and tried to turn on the school bus to get out of the way, when suddenly a train came by and crashed the school bus, killing everybody on board. I do have a lot of family in San Antonio, Texas, and I actually went down to those tracks. There is a legend that these kids that died in that school bus are still roaming those tracks. Me and my siblings, my parents, we would go park our car on one side of the tracks. You put your car on neutral on one side of the tracks, your car starts going uphill, getting pushed towards the other side of the tracks. And it's kind of like they're saying that the ghosts are trying to get you out of the way to save you, so the same thing doesn't happen to you what happened to them. That's not the scary part yet. It gets freaking creepy. Now, I was told this story at a very young age, and it's also on YouTube. It's freaking scary. So it was late one evening in 1984. This lady named Paula Williams was driving down the road, driving home from work. This happened near the train tracks, and she saw a little girl standing on the side of the road, and she caught her attention. Paula Williams asked her if she was alright and if she needed a ride. The little girl nodded yes and got in the car. She then gave Paula her name and pointed to where she lived. She said her name was Cindy Sue. Cindy Sue was extremely quiet, and it was almost like she was staring through Paula. As they were driving, they passed over the railroad tracks. You remember the railroad tracks, right? Cindy Sue's eyes met the sign of the railroad tracks, and they just locked. Once Paula arrived at Cindy Sue's house, she decided to leave her in the car and get off because Paula suspected that they were probably having problems, so she wanted to get off before Cindy Sue got off. Paula then told the mom that Cindy Sue was waiting in the car. The mother started yelling and threatening Paula to get off of her property or else she was going to call the police. Then the mother said the strangest thing. She told Paula just to let Cindy Sue rest in peace. Guys, I'm literally getting the chills right now because Paula walked to her car all confused and was just like, what the? I was trying to get your daughter home safe. Like, why are you yelling at me, you know? Well, Paula gets to the car and she notices there's nobody in there. She remembered that Cindy Sue had buckled her seatbelt. She noticed that the seatbelt was still on and her door was locked, but there was nobody in the car. So around the train tracks, there's this specific neighborhood. Paula noticed on her way home after that all the streets in that neighborhood were named after children. Specifically, one of the names of those streets was named Cindy Sue. So all those streets were named after all the kids that died in the train tracks. And if you go in person, you know I'm not lying because I have gone to that neighborhood and every street is named after every kid. And I have seen Cindy Sue's name in one of the street names. And it's freaking creepy because Paula found out that Cindy Sue was one of the victims from that bus accident. Till this day, their spirits roam that neighborhood, roam those tracks, and if you go at night, it's freaking creepy and your car does get pushed over those train tracks. I'm not lying. And if you put baby powder, you sometimes see little handprints, which is freaking scary. But please let me know if you want more scary stories, and if you want me to share your scary stories, DM me on Instagram and I'll go ahead and share your scary stories. Thank you for watching. Get ready with me while I tell you about something very scary that I went through. So this story takes place beginning of 2023. Me and my boyfriend decided we wanted to get part-time jobs together to make a little extra money on the side. Cleaning offices at night just because my uncle could get us in together and we could work together and it would be perfect. So this story actually takes place in a sky-rise building in downtown Phoenix. In this building, there is a supervisor and she assigns you floors to clean. Me and my boyfriend had 4 floors to clean together. I ended up deciding to split, so while he did one floor, I did another, just so it could go by faster. But I did start hearing noises, for example, like somebody typing on a computer. When I would go walk the whole floor to make, there was nobody. And I would be so freaking scared. I would hear a door shut or just like steps, somebody walking and there's nobody. So I kind of started getting creeped out and my boyfriend met back up. He told me he was hearing noises as well in the other floors. We ended up deciding we were not going to split anymore. This building was kind of old. You could tell it was remodeled. We ran into our supervisor and we ended up asking her if she heard any noises. Just out of curiosity, me and my boyfriend were like, oh, let's ask her. She told us she was working there for a long time, so she probably knows some things. Well, when we asked her, she was like, I don't know if I should tell you guys. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want the other workers to find out I can get in trouble. We're like, no, we won't say nothing. Can you please let us know? She ended up telling us the wildest story. Years before she was telling us this story, let's call the supervisor Linda. So Linda and this other lady were doing the floors. She begins to tell us that in this one specific floor, and she didn't want to disclose the floor because she didn't want to scare us or us to tell the other employees. She always noticed one of the offices in there was vacant, always, since she always did that office. One week, she said she noticed there was a guy in that office that she always saw was vacant. She proceeded to tell us that his back was always faced to her. He was always on the computer, but it looked like he wasn't doing anything on the computer. It was just his back facing her. Well, his door was closed. In the offices, you're told that if their doors are closed, please knock before entering. Her and the lady she was working with would knock and he wouldn't turn around. He wouldn't even acknowledge them. So they were like, okay, maybe he doesn't want to be disturbed. Through the window and the door, she would peek in and you could see that his trash did have tissue in it. She said that was it. We just had a tissue. Next day comes around and again, same thing. Knock, he wouldn't acknowledge them. She's like, maybe he doesn't want to be disturbed. But he was always facing his back to them. Cleaning offices at night, there's usually nobody there. But there are some people that stay later. Just they don't stay that late. Well, her and the lady run into the security guards. And if you know this, cleaning offices, you sometimes get close to security guards just because they have to check you in and check you out, or they're just in the building all the time. She stated that she told the security guard, hey, there's this one guy that has been staying very late all this week and he doesn't open the door for us. They were just trying to let him know, we've tried, so if we get a complaint, you're a witness. We try to get his trash. Since they told the security guard that this has been happening the whole week, the security guard said, can you please show me where his office is? That way I can go knock and let him know. When Linda described where his office was, she didn't want to disclose that number to us. Let's just say it was the 20th floor. She told the security guard, so his office is in the 20th floor. As soon as you enter that floor, you turn left, take a right, and it's the first office that you see. That's literally somewhat of a description she gave him. Well, the security guard had a very blank stare. He ended up telling her that he knew that guy personally and that he had passed away years ago. Out of respect, that office is not to be used or given to anybody because he passed away in there due to a heart attack. So he said that guy should not be in there. Nobody should be in there. Linda stated that the next day, the security guard came up to her and told her, hey, I spoke to the manager in that office and he said nobody should have been in that office and that everybody has stated that they all weren't there past closing. Linda thinks she saw that guy's ghost in there. The scarier part is I had told my grandma this story because she worked there years ago. I remember her telling me about this. She was there around the time the man passed away. She remembers that whole floor being shut down at the time of his death, ambulance and police there, and she also remembers after everything was cleared out that people started leaving roses, flowers, everything, candles in his office. So that's creepy because my grandma was there at the time of his death, and then Linda told us a story about her seeing him after he passed. But if you work cleaning offices at night, you are a real one and it is not for the weak.